Hello, folks, and welcome to this week's edition of the Coworking Values Podcast. It's one of our little summer specials here. And on the line from just outside London, as we like to say, we have Sarah from the Instant Group. And so, Sarah, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for?
Hi, Benny. Well, I guess I'm known for being part of the research and insight team at the Instant Group. So kind of analysing data, identifying new trends within the industry and sharing that knowledge with our clients and operators. What I would like to be known for? It's a tough one. I kind of always go back to my roots when I was little and always wanted to be a vet. So, that would probably still be my dream if I could do anything, is to be known for some kind of amazing animal things like Richard Attenborough or someone like that.
You can start a foundation. You can start a co-working space that's for vets, because there's a co-working space for hairdressers in London. Can't remember the name of it, but it's there. So how do you spend your time at the Instant Group? When you say research, that is, I know what you research, but like, what does everyone else tell everyone else what you're up to?
Well, I think we're quite unique at the Instant Group, that we kind of have over 20 years of our own proprietary data that we've collated over the years from transactions we've done, operators we've worked with. So we kind of gather all of that information together, and then I analyse kind of trends looking back over time, in terms of what we've seen, kind of supply, demand, pricing, that kind of thing. And then we can then kind of predict what's going to be coming up in the future and see what's happened when we've kind of had downturns in the past, how quickly the sector has rebounded and things like that. So there's quite a lot of data, and we can cut that in numerous ways, looking at city centres versus suburbs, postcode regions, split the operators that we work with by smaller independents and the big players. So we can use that data and look at a wide variety of different trends and data sets.
It is amazing. I've listened to I think James and John talk at conferences over the years, and I know, like, do you know Bertie from Herman Miller?
No, I don't.
His link in the show notes, folks. So he does a lot of research around works, not the same kind of like how's the market moving things, but how people work in the workplace and stuff, and it is fascinating. And there's so much of it. How many? So when you sort of go around, how many workspaces or co-working spaces do you like grab data from? So like the work you've done over the last year, is it like 10 places or 10 million places?
Oh, now you're asking me off the top of my head. How many? Definitely in the thousands and growing fast. We cover the globe really, so every market there is out there. So we've got a huge number that we work with, right from your kind of one-man band independents all the way up to the likes of IWG work that everyone knows, the big players. So we've got a wide variety in not quite every corner of the globe, but certainly quite a few number of countries and locations where you probably wouldn't imagine that there would be a co-working space.
Like
there we
Greenland.
We cover. Yeah, you'd be amazed at where some of these places are located, and the way the work is going. Now, who knows where they might pop up on some remote island in the middle of the sea where people want to go and work. I mean, you can work from anywhere. So I think that diversity is definitely going to be growing in the years to come.
So that was one of the things I was dying to ask you is, I hear people, this annoys me, and this is my own little issue I need to get over, but when people go, oh, get back to normal, are we going back to normal, or has the way we change work, fluff that line, how we change work forever, or how we work change forever? Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think normal is a funny one, isn't it? Because do we call normal how we worked before, or what is the new normal? We talk about the new normal, but I think the way that we work has changed. I don't think we're definitely not going to go back to the way we worked pre-pandemic. I think everyone's had this experience now working from home, more flexibility, more agility in how and where they work. So I definitely don't think we're going to be going back to that normal, but there's, will there be a new normal which is going to emerge? I think there will be. I think it's definitely not going to be a one size fits all solution. Some people love working at home. Some people can't wait to get back into the office. There's so many different options out there, for people now where they want to work, all these, different co-working spaces that that are there that we didn't know about before. Everyone's now, realised that there is one down the road in their local coffee shop where they can go and work instead. So there'll definitely be, what we're going to have a new normal emerging as we come out of the pandemic. And I think it's going to be an ever evolving thing. It's not gonna stay still. We've seen how quickly things can change. Overnight, who would have predicted we'd be in this situation? Go back 2 years ago, and who knows what's going to crop up in the future. I think we're constantly going to be adapting, and I think the key for people really is going to be choice, and they can choose how and where they work, and that is really going to be everyone might have their own unique normal in the way that they work, and I think companies are going to be very much having to adapt and accommodate all those different types of normal.
Do you think they've been? I mean, what I think, and you have all the data, and I have the opinion, but I think companies have been forced to appreciate that people want to work, will still work, but want to work in their own way. Is that my hope and dream, or is that the actual reality of the situation?
No, I definitely think that is the way companies are going. I mean, we're seeing the highest interest we've ever seen on our website for flexible workspace, which indicates that people are being able to work more flexibly, and companies are going to have to move in that direction. And to be honest, if they don't, people will start voting with their feet. If a lot of companies are allowing you to work from anywhere, people are going to have to pretty much follow suit, and there's always going to be some companies and industries where you can't work flexibly, or you need to be in an office. But the majority, I think, certainly from the demand that we're seeing for flex space, which is rebounding higher than ever, that does indicate to me that flexibility is the way forward, and companies are starting to adopt that approach. Especially pre-pandemic, we probably saw a majority of demand coming from your smaller companies, whereas now we're definitely seeing kind of larger, your corporate companies getting on board, and certainly looking at flex as a viable solution to their portfolios, to inject that adaptability and flexibility which they didn't have before. So I definitely think that more and more companies are kind of getting on board with the flexible approach.
And as you've watched this space over the year, why do people want to get back to the office? Because there is the, I can't stand working at home, and there's the mental health issue kind of thing. I was at home and I like my home, but I was going nuts at just being there all the time. So there's that issue. But what do people miss about the office?
I think a key thing that everybody's missed is probably the collaboration. I mean, we've all done a million Teams calls, meetings over the past year, and it can't replicate what you get in a face-to-face meeting, or even just the ability to go to grab a coffee in the kitchen and bump into someone in the company, have a quick catch up, or just go and pop round and ask a quick question. I think, just the physical, as, human beings, I think we all need that physical interaction and contact with people. And, a lot of the research we've done recently as to what will be the new purpose of the office, when people do go back, and a collaboration meeting hub, somewhere to bounce ideas off each other, that's definitely coming out on top as kind of a key purpose for the office. They need to, when they do go to the office, it needs to have a purpose. They need to go to do specific work, or specific meetings and collaboration, and it gives a place to kind of enhance company culture and the company brand. You need somewhere that people can go to get that sense of belonging, and that they belong to a company and a team. And that's what I think people, especially probably people that have joined new companies during the pandemic, haven't even met face to face or been into the office. That's what they're really lacking and going to miss. It's just being able to go into the office and feel like you belong to that company and understand what their values and culture is all about, which I think is very difficult to get when you're at home. If you've already been with the company for a number of years, you've already got that kind of ingrained in you, working from home. But for especially new starters, that's something that they're really going to need, is that place to go.
Yeah, I've so there's excuse me, there's Janine, who's part of the co-working assembly. We've been working like non-stop for 5 years now, and met loads of times. And then during the pandemic, we became part of a company which is 50 people spread around the world, and the only person I've met face to face is Janine. And I think the only person she's met face to face is me and Alex, the founder of the company. And I love it. I've been working this way for well over a decade now. So I've worked on lots of projects and stuff, and it's always been remote in different countries. And I work towards that. But even did a course on how to work remotely in 2014 with Lisette Sutherland, link in the show notes. But it is really freaky sitting in my office here with my roommate and working with all these people around the world. There's like an alternate reality, and I'm used to it. So people who have just, I don't know, worked for Vodafone and then suddenly work for Vodafone, but work in the same bedroom as they used to, like, must be going nuts. So what I'm hoping is that I kind of say what I've seen, but I'm very aware that I'm talking about the probably like the 10 people I've spoken to over the course of the year. But everyone's kind of left Zone 1 in London, and if you own a co-working or workspace or whatever you want to call it in Zone 6, 5, and 4 in London, you're it's all going on. There's lots of operators I know that have open places in that area. And is that something you're seeing in the data, or is that another micro trend we're getting?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen trends within our data that, we're seeing rising interest in kind of the more suburban markets. We talk about a lot of what we call the hub and spoke model. So you're going to, potentially have your hub office, which will be your, key office, maybe in London, a big city, and which will then be supported by kind of smaller spoke offices that are strategically located closer to where people live. So depending on the workforce, where they'll be located. But interesting, we did a recent blog on our website on occupancy levels and how those have changed over the kind of course of the pandemic. And actually even, look at central London, and where everyone's going, the office is dead, no one's ever going to want to travel into central London again. Why would you? You can work at home. We are seeing that occupancy rise as well. So it's very much kind of a two-pronged approach. There'll certainly be an increase in suburban demand, and people will want to work close to where they live, at least for probably part of the week. But people still want to go into central offices. They're still going to want to go into central London. You can't replicate that experience, and people don't just go for the office, they go for the culture and everything else there is around that. So you're not going to see that disappear, which is, I think, something that maybe at the very start of the pandemic people were thinking. They're like, oh, we can work from home, we no longer need an office, the office is dead. But that's the longer we've worked from home, I think we've realised that actually, although that's true to an extent, it's certainly not going to replicate it, and it's not going to eradicate it totally. And we are seeing demand bounce back in bigger cities and central locations as well for those that want to. But something I read that's quite interesting is that rather than being dead, the central London is actually going to get younger, because it's actually these younger generations, people at the university starting new jobs. They're the people that are going to want to be in an office, who are not necessarily going to be keen or don't have the space or the right setup to be working at home. So they're going to still want to be in an office and want to learn from their peers kind of face to face in person. So it's very much going to be that, suburban demand will increase, but by no means is central locations and towns going to disappear altogether. It's very much going to be a balancing act between what works for each company, I think.
Yeah, I really like that idea, because I'm right by the train station, so it takes me so I live near a tube, but I work by a train station, and it takes like 18 minutes to get to Liverpool Street.
Yeah.
So working here, I can walk to my office, and then if someone says, "Oh, do you fancy a coffee?" I can actually get on the train and go in, get off a Liverpool Street station, do that, come back,
Yeah.
and it's so much nicer to do that if it comes up than it is battle through that rush hour and
It's
fight
all
for a
about
seat and all
choice.
that
I think
stuff.
you said at the beginning, you've got that choice, and that's going to be the key. You don't have to go into the central office every day, but if you want to, or if something comes up, you have that opportunity, and that's the key, and that's what's going to make people just happier and improve their mental health and everything at work. Is it's all about choice, and what works for one person might not work for another, and you've got that option, and you can go and work where's better. Or if you've got a meeting one day, you're meeting up with someone else who might live further out, you can go and work in a local co-working space nearer to them another day. You've got that choice, and it's going to open up so many possibilities in the world of work.
So going a bit further on, in your Coworking Spain talk, there was a bit, and I wish I could remember the line now because I've got a schooly note here. It was about the demand from bigger companies in places like Malaga or like seaside towns. There was a demand going up, and you said something about what a big company expects and will get in Shoreditch or the centre of Madrid is very different from the experience that's provided by a co-working space by the beach. And there was something about investment. So can you riff on that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, we can talk and say, people are going to want to go and move and work in these outer locations, go work on the beach where it's sunny. But at the end of the day, you can only do that if the spaces are there to enable that. So talking about kind of larger corporate companies, I mean, what they're going to expect from a co-working space in terms of the quality and the amenities that they're used to, if they've got a big central location in a capital city, compared to what they might get in one of the smaller, coastal resorts, is going to be very different. And so in order for that to actually succeed, we're going to have to see some more investment from operators, be that the big players, or even more local providers who can offer a more kind of bespoke quality service. But we're going to need those to invest more into those locations for that to be able to happen. So as we're kind of seeing the demand start to grow and build momentum in those areas, if there's no supply there to service that demand, it's going to have to go elsewhere. So they're going to have to work to catch up in order to capitalize on that demand. And I think talking about the quality, so it doesn't have to come from one of the big players. We're seeing, I did some research just recently on the US, and what we're seeing is the kind of more kind of smaller operators who are the high-end boutique ones are the ones who are expanding, because actually now that people are working from home, to get them back out into the office, they need something special to make them do that commute, to get them back into the office, and they want the same kind of amenities that you can get at home. And more, you can go and sit, if you've got an informal meeting, you can take your laptop, go and sit in the lounge on the sofa, and you want to be able to do that in a co-working space as well. Or grab a coffee, change room to get different lighting, just get a change of scene, which we can do at home, we're used to, and that's what people are going to now want in their co-working spaces. So I think it'll be those who can offer a unique experience and a unique service that are going to be the ones who are going to see a lot of the demand in the coming months.
So is it a home from home kind of, I mean, obviously not with like duvets and slippers, but is it a home at home environment, or is it a snazzy office? Because there's this, there was one of my mates did this poll on LinkedIn the other day saying, what do you, as a freelancer or micro business, it was mainly going for, but other people that work for bigger companies can answer it. What do you most want from your co-working space? And I was like horrified, because 65% of people said it's design that is most important. And I was hoping they'd say things like community and belonging. And I work in a really nice office here, and it definitely makes me feel a bit more serious about what I do. Whereas if I worked on bean bags in a warehouse, I might not take it so seriously. Even that is probably quite a sellable thing nowadays. But what do people like? What do people want from a flexible workspace or co-working? What do they think they want, and what do they actually want?
Well, from speaking to some of our operators recently, I think what they want when they go back is that they still want to have their own private workspace, so they can still work in their own office. But what they want is all of those kind of co-working shared amenities available to them, so that they can then just go and sit in a more relaxed lounge area for a bit if they want to. They've got, I think, having the ability to make private phone calls is probably a big thing. We're so used to now just being able to call anyone at home because no one can hear you, that having your telephone booths or something like that in the office, so that you can make your private phone calls, and that's going to be really important. So I think probably a home from home is almost what people are going to want, at least in the short term, because they're used to those comforts at home, and so to get them back into the office. But as you get spend more and more time in the office, and people want to collaborate more, I think they'll design is important. It's what people are are going to be expecting. They want a nice office, a nice place to be able to work. They want everything on their fingertips. They want to be able to, change lighting, change heating, grab a coffee at, tap of a button. They're going to expect, I think, a much higher level of service in an office to maybe what they were expecting before, where it was just an office. You go there, you work, you come home. You didn't really demand too much from it. Yeah, now you're gonna be demanding all these home comforts.
There's so many places where you can grab coffee at the tap of a button, and the coffee you get is very touch and go. It's that's my main thing. I could have like no walls and be wet all day, but as long as I've got a good espresso where the creamer stays intact for at least 10 seconds after I've received it, I'm happy. Is what else is like really, really top of mind? Because there was a whole, I know, the as we began, like the whole thing shifted, and where I think let me touch base. Like this time last year, every day there was something was changing, something was moving. And I was looking at your Coworking Spain talk, which did that come out last week or the week before?
Oh, that was a couple of months ago now.
Was it?
Yeah, it was going back in. It's March.
Maybe it's when
that's when it was done, but it was only kind of released live
that's
out
right.
to the world.
That's what I was looking at the YouTube link.
Yeah.
So that makes my question even better. What's changed since you did that talk? Because things move at 100 miles an hour, whether we can lock down, lock in, what people demand, bigger companies saying, we're never going back to the office and all this type of stuff. So is it just as we finish, are there like any things that have changed since you spoke at Coworking Spain?
For me, probably one thing I think has kind of changed is that, we've always talked about if there's going to be a change in where we work, where you can be located, and that was kind of the big topic for a long time. But I think that's almost now been taken a step further, and it's more about how do we work. So everyone's already almost accepted that you can work from anywhere, that it's, the place is not important, it's how you're going to be able to work which is now important, which is kind of all around what we spoke about, the office design, the amenities. That's becoming more important than just where. Just because you can work from your local co-working centre, that's not going to be enough. It's going to be, what do they offer, what services can you get there, or do you still go back into your big office where you've got your on-site gym and your restaurant downstairs and all those kind of amenities? So I think there's almost been that second shift from just kind of where we're going to work. We can work from anywhere. We're going to offer that flexibility, but actually, how are we going to work within those spaces is for me now the kind of new way of thinking about work. As we kind of, I think especially as people are now starting to go back to the office, that question's kind of coming up more, and people are actually thinking about how is it they're working within the offices, what's the purpose.
Because everyone would have like changed they've all had their habits broken, and now they're coming back. It's almost like the first day back at school after the summer holidays, but summer holidays lasted a year. So
yeah.
What did you do? So I'm going to knock on that. I can feel another topic coming. I'm going to stop there. So where can we find you, Sarah? And do you contribute to any publications or blogs or anything like that?
Yes. So on our website, theinstantgroup.com, there's our latest blog around kind of occupancy and how that's changed. So do take a look at that, or you can email me, sarah.colwell@theinstantgroup.com. Anytime anyone has any questions on say any market globally, we've got a huge coverage. So yeah,
I would recommend a scout of the Instant Group's website if you're making a business decision, because it's scaringly for me it's very interesting because I'm not building a co-working space, but it is a good. I've seen so many people do a build it they will come over the years, and if they'd sort of read a couple of blogs by you folks, maybe they would have gone in a different direction. So thanks very much for your time today, Sarah. And thanks very much, folks, for, again, listening to what we put out here. If you go to coworkingassembly.eu, and you'll be able to get this podcast, this will show up in all your where you get your podcast places. But we publish articles and events every year. And after the summer break, because in Europe, everyone leaves town for the summer, we're coming back with the Rural Co-working Project and European Freelancers Week, and also in London Co-working Assembly, we're having our first in-person meeting since March 2020. So if you're in town, you're welcome to that. Thanks very much. Stay safe and take care of each other.